Well, we are on the eve of an authoritarian administration. This is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like. Republicans really model themselves after Orban's Hungary.
If you want to wonder why so many people have read Elon Musk's gesture as a Heil Hitler, it's the fact that she already had come to her conclusion. We're on the eve of an authoritarian government, and so you're going to see anything that happens, even an awkward gesture that a guy makes that has absolutely no context behind it, that would allow you to reasonably connect Elon Musk to Nazism or the Third Reich. Of course, you're going to see it through the lens that you view the world through. And AOC's lens is broken. And so she continues to see the world through this prism that allows her to think that America is going to be new Hungary. Okay, you think Donald Trump or Elon Musk give two about Hungary as a model for what they're going to do here? Is there anything that either of them have ever said that would lead you to believe that? It's the Gulf of America. We're gonna get Greenland. We're taking back the Panama Canal. And now we're going to try to be more like Hungary. Because that seems like something that makes sense. What the are you talking about? Man, nobody is grinding my gears more today in American culture than AOC. Stephen A. Smith is with me on this. He's had enough. Stephen A., who, as I've said, is showing signs of letting his common sense dictate how he views American public discourse rather than party affiliation. Stephen A. is again having some very pointed words for the Democrats. Let's take a listen to Stephen A.
Did you talk about controlling the media? Is that what you brought up? So the left has had no control, huh? So the left has not engaged in bullying tactics. So woke culture didn't exist, where people had to make sure they echoed the right pronoun in order to keep their job security. Where you had to sit up there and, God forbid, you literally challenge somebody with regards to transgender issues, and you were considered to be transphobic. Where 1 minute we were called upon to protect the young ladies and the women in our society, and then that got thrown out the window the second a male was transitioning to female and wanted to participate in female sports. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't any consistency with the stuff that had been being spewed beforehand and ultimately enforced. So that is the Republicans that we need to be worried about, but not y'all. Y'all would never do such a thing. Oh my goodness. It would never be you. It would never be y'all. That would never happen, huh? Really? Really? This is exactly why Trump is in office.
Last night, I was on Reddit, just scrolling around through my groups. I get to my Bob Dylan group, and there's a post up that says, we're banning all links to X because we don't support Nazis. I went to my Chicago Bears group to read about Ben Johnson taking over as the new head coach. They're saying, we're going to have a vote. We want to ban links to X because we don't support Nazis. And I go down into the comments of each of these subreddits thinking that there's going to be a debate down there. And nope, it's 90% pro-banning, 90% calling Elon Musk a Nazi. And to them, it's so clear. And I'm thinking to myself, am I living in the same world that these people are living in? I would never support a Nazi. And neither would 99% plus of the people who voted for Donald Trump or who like Elon Musk. Do you think that we're all Nazis? How dare you? I'm going to go Greta Thunberg on you. How dare you? How dare you? Except for I really mean that shit. You can hear it in Stephen A.'s voice. Fuck you. You call Elon Musk a Nazi, you're calling me a Nazi for thinking that Elon Musk is a good force in our society. Fuck you. And Stephen A has the same energy. We've had enough of it. And I am torn between being pissed at AOC and all the people who can continue to perpetuate this nonsense that is without basis, that is without merit, that they can't back up in any kind of rational way, and hoping that they do continue. Because every time AOC posts one of her little confessional videos and uploads it, there's got to be a few people that drift away from her tribe. So keep doing it, I suppose, and I don't think there's any question that she's going to. So I don't think it's going to work out for you very well. There are other people who are waking up as well. I've talked about it. Stephen A. I was late. I've been criticized for it by people on the right. Oh, well, you voted for Hillary and you voted for Biden. Yeah, I did. At the time, I thought that was the thing to do. But as I see things unfold in front of me, I am going to let my common sense dictate the conclusions that I make. And Stephen A. is a little bit behind me, but welcome to the common sense revolution, Stephen A. You're a smart guy. You'll be an asset to sense and reason. Keep it up. We need it. CNN, take a look at this. I want you to look at this. See, because here's the issue. As I've said before, I'm not a Republican. I'm a political independent who watches what the parties say, and then I ultimately support whichever party is more in line with my overall viewpoint on what's going on in society and how I prioritize the various issues. What I don't do is have and this is what far too many people do. This is a big part of the problem. Somebody identifies as a Democrat, or they identify as a Republican, as the case may be. But we're seeing it a lot on the left right now. And they've already, they've planted their flag and they're not going anywhere. And now that forces them to try to squint and bend whatever's going on in the world in order to justify why they have the affiliation that they have. That's why I like being an independent. I'm not beholden to anything other than my own interpretation of reality. But CNN, who is always busy patting themselves on the back for being a real news channel, the hypocrisy is so thick, you couldn't cut it with a chainsaw. Joe Biden pardons preemptively Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, his son, his own kid, not just the pardon that he gave him for the shit that Hunter did, that he was convicted of, but for shit that we don't even know about, that might come to light, that I bet you Joe knows about. Preemptive pardons. I haven't heard anybody on the left saying anything negative about that, because you can't criticize your own team, right? So you got to justify why it's okay. But let's listen to what various CNN anchors had to say when they were considering the possibility of Donald Trump near the end of his first administration issuing preemptive pardons.
Is that a thing? Preemptive blanket pardons? I mean, I haven't heard about this since, like, Monopoly with a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Trump has discussed with advisors whether to grant preemptive pardons. What does that say? That he wants to excuse them for things before anybody's even saying there's an investigation.
President Trump, as he winds down his last few weeks in office, is considering preemptive pardons. What a mess. More as we know.
Source saying that some of the president's inner circle, well, they're telling him that it would be perfectly fine to pardon his family and other associates preemptively, even though they haven't been charged with any crimes. How much damage could be done to this country can he do to this country on his way out?
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons. Nor are you going to see in our administration the approach to making policy by tweets. It's just going to be a totally different way in which we approach the justice system.
How rich is this? You won't see that in my administration. But it's all excused because when you create the bogeyman, when you make Donald Trump the living manifestation of evil, you can justify anything if your followers believe that. Joe Biden had to issue pardons to Hunter and to Fauci and to Liz Cheney so that Donald Trump didn't engage in his retribution and revenge. And my goodness, what a noble act to save these people from any possible persecution that Donald Trump might subject them to. And I love the anchors at CNN. You want to know why CNN is fast becoming fucking irrelevant? It's that type of shit right there. And then Maddow over at MSNBC, I mean, I love her fake, just preemptive part. Well, I can't, oh my God, let's go to a break. I'm going to have to pull myself together. You think she's given a single shit about anything that Biden has done? It's only bad because you thought that Donald Trump might do it. You're hypocrites. And I don't like hypocrisy. My favorite quote of all time, I'll say it again. It's by Malcolm X. I'm for truth no matter who tells it. I'm for justice no matter who it's for or against. Believe what you believe, but don't excuse things that you see objectively in front of you that are the exact example of things that you have already professed that you detest, and then excuse it just because they're of the same political party as yourself. Particularly coming from the media, the biased liberal media. Sonny Hostin, Ronnie T-Shirt's favorite television host, is also on the it's okay, whatever Joe Biden did train. Let's roll the tape on The View.
I was not offended by Biden pardoning his family because I think, just like Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you or tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Right. We've already had a Trump presidency. We know that this administration is a vengeful one. We know this is a vengeful man. And if I can protect me and mine, I would do that. And so I think we need to show Joe Biden some grace.
We must protect ourselves from Lord Voldemort. This is the thing. You can do anything. Poor Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who loves his family so much and loves his son, and he had to do it. And Liz Cheney, they were just going to put her before the firing squad. Anthony Fauci. All of these people were going to be persecuted. And again, this is another case of the people who dealt it smelling it. Who has engaged in using lawfare against their rivals? Has it been Donald Trump that has done it in the past? Or was it you guys going after Donald Trump, convicting him? They love talking about he's a convicted felon. Joy Behar, we didn't have it in that clip, but when she was setting up Sonny Hostin for the remarks that she just made, she said a convicted felon in Donald Trump, pardoning other felons or whatever. They love to call Donald Trump a felon. Well, the only reason he's a felon is because you trumped up charges for Trump and went after him in a cynical way to try to take down your chief political rival. But you're worried about what he's going to do. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? As Stephen A. Smith said, what have you done? Think about what you've done. The people that you support, what have they done? You can't see it. You can't see it. Pardon me while I blow this Tipperillo smoke in your face. They don't make print ads like they used to, I'll tell you that. Pardon me, sir, do you have the time? I'm not wearing a watch. I don't know. A lot of smoke being blown these days in American culture, and gender continues to be a conversation. A lot of people concerned about the fact that now the United States recognizes two genders, which throughout 10,000 generations of human history seemed to be pretty obvious. And then sometime in the last 15 or 20 minutes in modern society, we suddenly decided that there were 463 genders. Pierre Poilievre up in Canada, who is the conservative leader and most likely the next prime minister of Canada, was asked his thoughts on gender, and he had a question for the questioner. Let's take a look.
Let's go back to D.C. right now. Obviously, on his first day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral. Well. You are a man, yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here? Whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two.
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone to make their own personal decisions. That's the kind of government I'm going to run.
Well, I'm only aware of two as well. What is it that the language says? The new language, the large reproductive cell and the small reproductive cell. I'm a man, so my body produces the small reproductive cells. Cells that look like this. Lamar Jackson, after the loss in Buffalo in the playoff game, says, we moved it down the fallopian tube, but we got to do a better job of converting on opportunities when we reach the egg, and that starts with me. Just butting his head up against that thing, trying to get in there. I don't know. What are we talking about? What are we talking about here? We have made something so simple, so confusing. And I say that with respect. If somebody wants to live their life and identify themselves as whatever, you can do that personally yourself. And I'll be nice to you. I swear to God, I will. But at the end of the day, there is a truth in objective simplicity. Elon Musk, man, he is he's the pariah now. The left they've actually turned most of their attention, at least this week, from Donald Trump to Elon Musk, and the fact that Elon Musk now is he's a Nazi. He didn't know that until he made an awkward gesture. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I understand why people saw that in the gesture. I'm not gonna pretend that I didn't. But the fact of the matter, as I've said on this program before, and as has been proven time and again on social media this week, everybody makes awkward gestures at some point or another. We've seen AOC make gestures that if one wanted to play gotcha, could say that was a Heil Hitler. I've seen Tim Walz. I've seen Obama. I've seen Hillary Clinton, Taylor Swift, everybody. I'm sure, including me, including you, including everybody who's ever used their arms. There's going to be a moment where you do something that if somebody wanted to say, there it is. But let's look at his behavior, right? Let's look at his behavior. And let's listen to what Joe Rogan has to say about Elon Musk and who he is in American society.
Elon's such a unique character. You can't even you can't put him in the same category as an Einstein because he's just like a cultural weirdness. Mm-hmm. Like, who is this guy? Like, making memes, cracking jokes, dunking on people, telling people to go fuck themselves, buys Twitter, it runs a bunch of different companies simultaneously while playing video games constantly. It's like, that doesn't fit in anywhere else. That's like a very unique thing that exists, this Elon Musk guy. He's one of the most unique human beings in all of history.
What in his profile indicates white supremacist? See, that's the question. Because if somebody is actually a Nazi, you're going to see it in their deeds and their actions, not a gesture that they make that your assumption about it contradicts what we observe logically as the person's motivations and ambitions. Is that too much common sense? Look, I'm an Elon fan, but he does have more work to do. SpaceX, what he's going to be doing with government efficiency, what he's doing with the Cybertrucks and all of that stuff. Look, I'm not a fan of the Cybertruck. I don't like the way that it looks aesthetically. Can we get some of these? I want NFL helmet cars. That might be the one thing that would get me to give up my Dodge Challenger and go electric. Although, honestly, take a look at those sweet bastards. They deserve to run on gasoline. That's what I say. I want to be peeling down the highway at 75 miles an hour in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers helmet, working on a lung dart, and listening to Gordon Lightfoot is what I want. Let me now go to the international streaming star who's standing by in Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-shirts. And Ronnie, what are you thinking about this continued, I would say that it's false outrage about Elon Musk, but the truth is there are a lot of people, and it became abundantly clear to me as I was going through those subreddits last night, there are a lot of people out there who have probably limited information, who are getting their news from other sources than us. It's easy to forget sometimes that there are a lot of people out there that they're watching MSNBC, they're watching CNN, and they really do still consider that to be the news. And so they believe this, man. What do you make of what we're seeing here this week with all of the Hitler hullabaloo?
I mean, it is getting super old. And again, I just find it wildly lazy, but it works for these people, right? Like they make these outlandish claims and it works because all these moronic, gullible, low T beta men and cat ladies, they suck it up and they love it. I was watching Gutfeld last night and Kat Timpf had a great point. She said, if Elon really meant to do the Nazi salute, he would have just said it. He doesn't need to just hide it with a salute. He would just say, yeah, I'm a Nazi. What are you going to do about it?
You can't hide it. You can't hide it. And if
right,
he really
but he would just say it.
Wouldn't he keep that on the down low? Right. I mean, wouldn't you either just try to keep that on the, you wouldn't do something ambiguously.
Right. Well, that was her point. If you're going to do the gesture,
yeah,
you might as well say the words. And so it's just silly. Listen, all these people that you were showing the first half hour that I'm sitting here, I'm trying to unpack and digest and try to figure out what, I don't know where you're going to pull me in and ask me a question, but other than Stephen A. and Joe Rogan, the one common thread I see with all these people are they're just assholes, Ricky. They are just complete and utter assholes. You know, one of the characteristics that I find most appealing in a friend and somebody I want to have a good relationship with is the ability and the willingness to admit and say when you're wrong. And these people will not do it. I cannot imagine being in a friendship or a relationship with somebody that does not say when they're wrong. And these people will not say that they're wrong.
Crucial in a relationship and in a friendship. How many times have you and I, in the course of our friendship, you and I both go to the other one and say, dude, sorry, I got carried away or whatever. I was wrong.
Probably 100. Probably 100 each.
And we're better friends for it.
Yes.
You know, because you learn what a person is really like.
Yes.
And people who are never at fault, who never acknowledge faults, I have more respect for somebody who can look at themselves and say, I was wrong about this. I was wrong about that. Because if you really are being intellectually honest, you got to be honest with yourself first. And this idea that suddenly this is an authoritarian regime, when I voted, and look, we can disagree philosophically, but I voted the way that I did because I was concerned about the authoritarian tendencies of the left. Right? Tim Wall's saying there's no guarantee, if speech is hateful or if it's misinformation, there's no guarantee to that. Yeah, actually, yes, there is. There is a guarantee to those things. And so narrowing the First Amendment, what is that other than, a move towards authoritarianism? Look, you may not I got no problem with people who disagree with me politically in terms of they're going to vote differently or they see it differently. That's fine. But this Hitler stuff is nonsense. It's just nonsense. Doesn't make any sense to me. If you don't like Elon Musk's policies, if you don't like Donald Trump's policies, I got no problem with that. We can disagree with that. Smart people, friends, we can disagree. But to me, when you take something as innocuous as I see what Elon Musk did, look, it's an unfortunately awkward gesture. It would have been better if he hadn't done it in a perfect world, but it was just an awkward movement unless I see some shred, some tiny, something, a shred of dental floss of a reason to believe, oh, hey, wait a minute. When you connect it to what the guy's actually doing, that is a little suspicious, but there's nothing there. Patrick Mahomes is speaking out on the perception that is circulating in the wind around this great country that the Kansas City Chiefs, and particularly Patrick Mahomes, get all the goddamn calls. Patrick Mahomes saying, I don't feel that way. The referees are doing their best to call the game as fair and as proper as they possibly can. And of course, what would Patrick Mahomes say? You're gaslighting us, Patrick Mahomes. I feel like we're in a relationship and Patrick Mahomes is just invalidating the evidence of our own eyes and ears. Let me go now to the commissioner of the Thursday Night Mowing League. He's OutKick's Senior Director of Content. Of course, I speak of the great Joe Kinsey. Good morning, Joe, or good afternoon, Joe, I guess here technically. What do you make of all of this, that the Kansas City Chiefs are the sainted golden children of the NFL, and whenever they need a flag, we seem to find one?
Ricky, are we sick of the Chiefs or are we sick of the Chiefs? I did a story this week about Jackson Mahomes. He has spent 29% of his life, Ricky, in the AFC Championship game. I know he's not playing in the game, but he gets to go into the suite and suck down champagne like a loser he is. He gets to spend 29% of his life, Ricky, at the AFC Championship game. That makes me absolutely sick. The NFL refs need to be investigated. Did you see the stat, Ricky, about the Chiefs and penalties in the playoffs? They've never had more penalties than the opposing team. What is this, Ricky? This is disgusting. Goodell needs to put a stop to it. That is a nasty stat.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
During the Andy Reid Mahomes era, I just want to be clear because I haven't heard this before. In their dynasty era, they haven't had a playoff game where they were the more penalized team? Is that what you're telling me?
Ricky, I'll get you the exact stat. Warren Sharp is out with some investigative reporting, And put it this way, the Chiefs have never faced adversity in the penalty department. These refs are right in the bag of the Chiefs. Andy Reid's over there feeding them Waffle House or whatever the hell he's got on the buffet, and it's disgusting. And Jackson Mahomes gets to sit up there and twerk on TikTok like a loser he is 29% of his life. It makes me want to puke.
I love that this was just your entry point to just trash Jackson Mahomes, and I'm here for it. To be honest with you, Joe. Look, let's talk about other things that are annoying. You've got a piece up on OutKick right now about the TGL, tomorrow's golf league, this indoor video game giggle fest that Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas are all a part of, and you were picking it apart pretty good. So if you want to shit on the TGL, I'm also here for that, because one thing I'll say, Joe, before I hand it off to you, this thing, obviously, it was supposed to launch a year ago. They had the weather situation there in Florida, the hurricane or whatever. It fucked up the place that they were going to broadcast it from, so it was delayed, which has given me a year to think about it and think about how I just can't imagine how it's possibly going to be successful. Tell me what you don't like about it and tell me how you'd fix it.
Well, Ricky, I can tell you like a list of like 10 things that I hate about it. Let's start with this being a giant sausage fest, Ricky. If I wanted to watch a bunch of dudes swing a golf club at a golf ball at a screen, I would just go to my local X Golf or my local simulator. But instead, I've got to have Justin Thomas trying to act like he's an entertainer. He's not entertaining. He's sitting there on the screen the other night wearing some stupid chain around his neck, trying to create a viral moment. These guys aren't interesting, Ricky. And it's just all dudes. It's all a bunch of guys standing around hitting golf balls. It's boring. Listen, think about what we watch on Sundays. We watch Amanda Balionis from CBS. She's like 45 years old. She's right in the wheelhouse of all these golf fans. She's in some skirt interviewing these guys, and all the guys are like, damn, that was just the female body we needed. Amanda Balionis, bring her in. She's perfect. Then we go back to these guys smacking golf balls. That's perfect. This indoor league, we've got Marty Smith, this bro from, they say he's from Virginia. He's got the hick act going on, Ricky. It's enough to make me puke. He's in there interviewing guys. Then you got Matt Berry from ESPN. Ricky, he's on a booth by himself. There's no color analyst. Matt Berry throws it down to Marty Smith, who looks like he's in Florida-Georgia line. It's horrible. Tiger Woods is embarrassing himself with this product. It's garbage.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.